that funnel went from like that was supposed to be like a throwaway account. Like, hey, just give Justice something to do. Like, we want him to get used to like managing clients. Went from nothing to like spending $50,000 a month on ads, and like was one of the biggest accounts at the agency. And that was one of my first claim to fame sort of moments. After that, everyone was like, yeah, put him on everything.
Welcome to Leaf Nodes, the podcast that helps your business take root and grow. I'm Adria Marshall, seasoned business owner and speaker.
And I'm Sydney Mafuka, artist, illustrator, and small business owner.
Join us each week as we take you on a journey through the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. We'll dive into everything from social media strategy to protecting your business.
We'll even answer your burning questions such as, do I need a business plan? Should I form an LLC? Where should I promote my business? And so much more.
Together with our guests, we'll break down these topics into actionable steps, helping you build the business of your dreams.
So whether you're just starting or you're looking to scale, we got you covered.
So go grab your notebooks, your favorite beverage, and cozy up to receive practical insights and inspiration here on Leaf Notes. Let's go make your business dreams a reality. Hey, Justice, welcome to the show. Good to have you.
Thank you for having me on the show. I feel like it's a long time coming, so.
It is a long time coming. I'm so excited. I feel like I've known you. What's it been? Has it been 3 years yet? It has to have been close to 3 years.
You know, it might actually be 3 years. Mm-hmm. I think so. Yeah, I think in the summer it'll probably be around 3 years.
That's so crazy. So Sydney, Justice, Sydney. Justice is my ads manager and practically family at this point. So Justice, why don't you start out by telling us a little bit about yourself?
A little bit about myself. Well, I feel like about 30 years old now. Grown up in Southern California most of my life. I've always been somewhat of a quick learner. Dabbled in a lot of different things when I was younger. I feel like when I got to maybe like 25-ish or so, I was going through college, bouncing around a lot of different things, and somehow ended up in what they call it, like direct marketing for a timeshare company, right? So they called it direct marketing, but it was actually sales. So I'm selling like in person at like, imagine like being at the Georgia Dome or something, and then someone comes up to you like, hey, miss, you and your husband, you guys get a free gift today. It's on the Georgia Bulldogs. Come and see. And then it's like me doing like a timeshare thing. Like, where do you want to go on vacation? Mexico, heaven, where do you want to go? And you're like, wait, what? Vacation? I'm like, yeah, it's free. Don't worry. Just pick something. You like wine, right? Sir, you know she likes wine. And all of a sudden, like 40 minutes later, you guys are doing like signing up for a timeshare. And like my boss is like, good job, man. You're good. And that was my first intro into marketing. I did that for about a year. And then I learned about...
Really? For a year?
Yeah. I'm surprised too. Before that, I actually worked at the Amazon warehouse, loading the trucks.
Really?
Yeah, I did that for a minute. That was another...
How was that?
That was it was interesting. That was one of my first ever like factory sort of warehouse sort of jobs. Very humbling experience, because I remember, and believe it or not, like working inside the warehouse or working inside the trucks where they load the boxes onto the trucks. That was actually one of the more like in demand jobs. One of the worst jobs was like picker. So I actually did both jobs at one point, and I remember like working there and sort of being happy a little bit because like at that point in time, like my dad, who's Nigerian, super upset at me that, you know, I don't have a bachelor degree, or I'm like not a doctor, lawyer, engineer. And but now I have money for like rent and stuff, so it's like, you know, we're at this crossroads. And then I remember I got not necessarily demoted, more like transitioned into like a job called picking, which was, you know, basically, from my opinion, like an equivalent of like a slave labor job. Like the job was called picking. Like they literally reinvented it. I was like, dude, this doesn't make sense. So you buy something on Amazon, and then Amazon has all these different warehouses around the country. Once you buy something, someone now has to go in the warehouse and try to find where that object is located within about a minute, and then put it on the conveyor belt so it can be packaged up and loaded onto a truck to be sent to you. So they're paying people to go in their warehouse and try to find stuff, and stuff is never organized, never in the right place. It may be broken, all kinds of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. And you have to do that very, very quickly. So I remember I was doing that. And then Amazon has a very tough policy when it comes to firing people. If you get 3 strikes, you're just gone.
Mm-hmm.
If you're bottom 25% of the percentile, you're just gone. There's no questions asked. You're just fired. So I remember there's all these, formulas and calculations in terms of like what would cause you to like be a low performer. And I ran into like
Mm-hmm.
3 different technicalities like in a very short amount of time. And my boss was like the same age as me. So we're like another 22-year-old kid in the corner. He's like, hey man, you seem like such a cool dude, bro. But like, I mean, something I can do, man. Like, I
You
like you,
fired.
man. I was like, it's all cool. It's all good, bro. It is what it is. Like, nah, bro, it's not right, dude. Like, you're such a good guy. I was like, yeah. And like me and him are having this heart to heart moment. And like for me, like, and one of my buddies is like, dude, why don't you do sales with me? Come over here, do timeshares. I was like, I had too much pride to want to do that. I was like, nah, I can't do that. What are you talking? Nah. First day, that's a really hard job. Imagine like you're not only doing sales, but you're doing sales for like one of the most frowned upon industries of all time. Uh,
Man, I hate those people that try to sell me timeshares. They are the worst. You're interrupting my vacation
and
to try to sell me this
you're
thing.
how many times do you go to like the basketball game, right? You guys have probably haven't gone to a Hawks
Right.
game this year. So you're finally there.
Right.
Husband got the time off of work. Boyfriend's finally right. Worked all day
Right.
for these tickets, and then I'm interrupting during
Right.
halftime while you're getting your popcorn, and I'm like, "Yo, check this out, though. Vacation time." And I actually wrap you up so much. We're
Yeah.
a whole hour, and then I sign you up, and you're just like, "What just happened?"
Right. What did I do?
Most people get cussed out. They cry, like they can't do it. Right. My first day, the average person will probably get about 1 sign up every 2 times they go to work, maybe. I got 5 signups my first day.
Mhm.
It was so good. The guy was like, "Have you done this before?" I was
Wow.
like, "No," but to my credit, like my friend was actually really really good at it, and so they moved me up to like one of the top on first team, and I was like doing that for a long time, and they were like, when you're good at something, people just don't want to let you just walk away. So that kind of spurned my introduction into marketing. Eventually, I find out about
Okay.
online, like digital marketing, the online version of what I was doing. But most people in
Yeah.
digital marketing, no matter what it is, it could be branding, it could be content creation, it could be actual like Facebook ads, advertising, whatever it is. The average person doesn't actually have real experience doing the offline version of
Mhm.
that, right? So
Right.
doing that kind of did give me an introduction to like, oh, like here's how an upsell actually feels in person, or here's what it looks like to
Mhm.
actually get
Mhm.
someone's attention, or you know what I mean? Like when they say people buy
Right.
an emotion, that actually like what
Yep.
what emotion? Like I actually had a more visceral experience of what a lot of those online concepts meant, and it wasn't just like a lot of theories or guessing and stuff like that. So it's a very unique foundation before I actually jumped into like what I'm doing now.
Right. And so what did you actually want to do when you were in school?
It was funny. I think when I was in third
Mhm.
grade, I said that I wanted to have like a business or a job that let me hang out with my friends as they did their fun jobs. Right. So like in a sense, like working at an agency does allow me to kind of do that in a sense. Like if my friend is
Mhm.
like if he's like, like a UFC MMA fighter or something, I literally could actually help him out with his marketing and like and hang out with him while he's
Got
doing
you.
right and like or like, you guys are selling
Right. And you
products or
working, right?
yeah, because everyone
Yeah.
needs marketing. So I didn't know what marketing even was until I was in college. But now I kind of am fulfilling that sort of third grade vague definition of like, hey, what do you want to do? It's like, I don't know. I just want a job that lets me hang out with my friends. Like,
That's
that's
fascinating.
kind of
And
what
so
I'm
you
doing.
actually got a degree in marketing though, and so you kind of knew that's what you wanted to do when you were in college.
No, I have like 4 or 5 associate's degrees in random stuff. So I was like,
Yeah.
my dad he was really adamant about like me getting a degree and going to college. So I went to community college and kind of just tried out a bunch of stuff. I was like doing
Hmm.
internet poker, and then I was like doing an English
What?
major, and then I was doing law for a little bit. And then I tried out, being an
Really?
engineer for a little bit. Yeah, like I tried out everything because my thing was like I kind of wanted to. I remember the first path I was going to go down was going to be engineering, right? But I was smart enough to realize like try to like get around the actual culture of the job so you can feel what the lifestyle is going to be like, so you know that this is something you really want to do, not just like
Mm-hmm.
how much does it pay or whatever, right? So I remember just
Mm-hmm.
getting into like the engineering club and like the STEM club, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't draw a straight line with the ruler. I'm hanging out with the guys in the club, and I'm like looking to see, okay, who else is in this club? Everyone's a nerd, or everybody's lame. and I go to like the physics class, and like there's no girls. I was like, I don't know what this is gonna be like, right? Like I'm the guy who's like, this guy's so funny, or like I'm getting everybody like drinks and stuff, or making jokes, and like I'm a part of the team, but I'm like I realize I'm not like helping or anything. So I realized, okay, this is
Mm-hmm.
not. I can't make a lifestyle of this. Like this doesn't seem fun or interesting. Like I'm just doing this because like my dad says it's a good job, you know.
Right, right, right. And so how did you actually get into the digital marketing world?
Yeah, so I started off with an internship actually. So I had a paid
Okay,
internship, which is unheard of. At least for me, it was pretty unheard of at the
for
time
sure.
at an agency in downtown LA, and they had I mean, somewhat of like an up and coming sort of marketing guru who's like head of the agency. But my actual supervisor
Mm-hmm.
was, a guy who had been in the industry for a little while and had some success. And at that time, I was only like the fourth employee hired in a way. So they gave us a lot of freedom. So they were kind of just like very hands off, very like, hey, like figure it out. And I remember I was very adamant about like just being a good employee. And kind of my whole thought process
Mm-hmm.
was like, I need to make sure these guys understand that they made a good decision hiring me. Like that, like I was like literally the best decision they ever could have made. And so I remember the internship was supposed to be like a 3 month thing. After 1 month, they were like, "Yeah, I'm going to offer you a contract to like work." Da, 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 da. And I remember getting that letter. Like they give you like, it used to give you like a real like a like a letter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Letter was like for $40,000, and I forgot what the actual pay was before that. But I remember going to my dad and showing him the letter. I didn't even say anything because it's like Nigerian culture is just like we don't really embrace like that. So I was like, yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
walk up to the guy and I'm like, "How you doing, sir?" He's like, "Hey, how are you? Good afternoon." And I just hand him the letter, like, "Here you go." And he's like, "What's this?" I'm like, "Oh, open it." And he opens it and it's just like, "Congratulations, we'd like to offer you this position at $40,000." All he sees is $40,000. Like, okay. The next, the next, the next morning, I wake up. There's like a bill on my bed, and it's just like pay
Oh,
this.
no.
And then I realized, okay, I should never talk to my dad about money ever
E-
again.
Exactly.
But yeah,
That's
that was the start. And after that point, it was kind of weird. Like that company, they just kept like almost every 3 months, they would just give me a raise or hire or promote me to a different position. So much that like I actually never really like knew that you had to negotiate your like a
free salary.
yeah. I was just like I had a new boss come in and I was like, "Hey, where's my quarterly raise?" He's like, "What do you mean quarterly raise? What are you talking about?" Like, yeah, every quarter I get a raise or promotion. Like, what's going on? It's like you have to like, don't you know anything? I was like, what do you mean? So you have to tell me like, dude, this is random that they've been doing this, but here's how it actually works. And so yeah, ever since then, I've kind of been in more like senior level positions from a digital marketing perspective.
Cool. So you've been in this world for what, about, I don't know, 10 or so years now? Is that about right?
Probably like six since
Hmm.
2017.
So since you've been in that world, 'cause I've come across you are. I mean, that's why we still work together. You're the best. I think they call you a media buyer now. Is that the proper term? I call you my ads manager. What is the proper term?
Yeah, I mean, media buyer is a little limiting, right? Like I'd say, but I'm
Okay.
also a humble guy. So I would
Oh,
call,
it's so
yeah,
so
yeah, of
humble.
course. I mean, I would call myself a marketer, right? Like
Okay.
I'm doing
Okay.
marketing,
Yeah.
but for a lot of people. So I'll say it like this, right? There's media buyer, and think of that as like an executor, right? This is a platform specialist.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There, and buyer refers to, it's an advertising term, right? That's the person
Mm-hmm.
who's normally you would purchase media space on like a billboard or something like that.
Right.
Buyer, right? Then there's a media planner, which is the person who strategizes. You have your execution person, I'm going to execute the plan, and you have a person who creates the plan,
Okay.
media planner,
Mm-hmm.
and then obviously you have like your CMO level, like you have your department manager who's managing both those
Okay.
guys, and then the next person over here would be like the marketing director and or CMO of the company. It depends on how big the company is, will determine how many of those roles are actually being
Okay.
filled. But yeah, I mean, I feel like the more you understand about the business side of things, the more your role naturally changes. In essence, in general, I'm doing marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like LeBron James, talking to LeBron James, he'd be like, "So you're a basketball player?" It's like, "Well, yeah, I'm a hooper." But to the people in the know, they'll be like, "Oh, LeBron James is in superstar basketball player," but he'll never say that. But like, he can literally do
Mm-hmm.
anything on the court. So depending on the situation, I definitely feel I'm probably more on that sort of level. It's just more so like, what responsibilities do I want to have, or you know what I mean? Like, do I want to kind of check all the boxes to kind of naturally ascend to that role? But in terms of capability,
Mm-hmm.
I think my track record sort of speaks for itself.
So humble. And Sydney, you should know that Justice and I rarely have a conversation where a basketball analogy does not come up.
But you know what? You
Yes.
know what, Sydney? What do you like? You like arts? You like entertainment? I can use different analogies.
Uh,
It's just basketball is the ones that are easiest, but I just need to know like who am I trying to relate to? You know?
the basketball was a good one. I got it.
Okay, cool. See, she's a fan.
Okay, so what I was trying to ask is, so what things about the marketing world, the jobs that you do you enjoy, and which things like really drive you insane?
I would say right now, like I'm not a huge fan of lower level, non-thinking sort of execution task in a sense. It's like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
can you like doing media buying, doing actual media buying? I feel like it's a waste of my time
Mm-hmm.
because like it just like I don't have to be the one to do this because this doesn't require any like real thought. It's just like a time suck for me. When I first became an intern, I remember going to the CEO and asking him like, "Yo, like, how can I really make an impact to this company? Or like, what do you think I should focus on? Or what do we need a lot of help?" And he was like, "Yeah, man, we really need like a lot of like good ideas or like new ideas." So
Mm-hmm.
I think from there, like I've always become like the idea guy. And a
Mm-hmm.
lot of ways that used to manifest for me early on was in like actually making the ads, like at some level generating either the creatives or the ad copy and things of that nature. And so I still feel like that is probably the most entertaining aspect of the job. But a lot of other things come before that in a sense. So like if I see like, okay, I may like playing basketball, but if we don't have the court ready, we didn't sell enough tickets, like we don't have all this other stuff, it's like I can't play. So I'm like, hey, well, here's
Right.
how we can sell more tickets. All right, and then we try to go back to the game, like, all right, well, now we have no one who's like manning the cameras. I'm like, okay, well, here's how we can set up the cameras in a way where like no one has to really manage them all the time.
Yeah.
So, but I do like enjoy making the ads. Actually, I think that's more interesting.
Yeah, I can tell that as we work together, that seems to be the part that you really enjoy. But in my opinion, you're really great at all the analytics. Also, you're great at pulling the numbers, making sense of the numbers, and really explaining the numbers. I think you have a gift for that also.
I definitely appreciate you saying that. I do think that I have an affinity for problem solving, and it kind of
Mm-hmm.
like it's such a general skill that it can be applied in a lot of different areas. But yeah, I do think that it's very rare to have a person who can do the analytical side and then also
Mm-hmm.
stay creative as well. So I think in order to have overall success, both of those things need to sort of be married together. Very few people can
Yeah.
do it well, but when you can do it, it's a really nice thing because they both complement each other really well.
Exactly. Exactly. Sydney, I know you had a few questions too.
Oh, yeah. So I wanted to know, since you do
the ads.
The ads.
The ads. Like I'm just what would you suggest for like small businesses with maybe like let's say they have out of pocket budget, right? Who are just starting out and they want to put out like an ad, let's say for a course they're doing. Where do they start with that? Because I think it can be kind of daunting.
Yeah, it's a good question. And probably my most popular answer is it depends, right?
Oh
And
my
it
God,
depends,
drives me insane.
right? It depends.
Here we
It
go.
depends on the industry. It depends
You
on a
must
lot of
run a
factors.
test,
Yeah,
right?
it depends on like I'm trying not to give such a like a overly savvy answer, but it depends on a variety of factors, right? So depending on the type of product that they're selling, there may already be a lot of demand or interest for that particular thing. And if there is, I'd probably say, hey, we should probably start off on Google, where from a marketing standpoint, there may be people who are already ready to buy this thing that we can just get in front of. We can pay to get in front of those people who are actively searching. And therefore you'd want to go to a channel like that. Google, Bing, those sort of channels. But if you're created a product that is sort of revolutionary or very, very innovative, or you're in like some sort of brand new lane, right? Like AI is really big right now, right? A crypto is really, really big. VR, some of these things are really, really new. And so, or sometimes your product is like super visual, right? Where it's like it could be like a clothing line or just some new concoction that device that you've built. And so no one's going to be searching for that because no one even knows really what it is yet. But the volume's kind of low. It's very niche. So sometimes those things are better conveyed with a visual, like a video or something like that. That is a better product to go with to like Facebook with or like do social media marketing with, right? So certain products sort of have an affinity for certain channels, and then just depending on how aware of the product that some people are, that the industry is, may sort of dictate where you start off in your marketing.
So, what is a budget that someone should consider to start out with when it comes to ads? Because I know that, like, with Instagram, you know how they have like it's not even like the same with going with Google, but like they have like their own internal thing where you can boost
Mm.
something, and they'd be like, "Oh, you can only spend like $10, and this thing will go out to a bunch of random people, pretty much." So, what would you suggest as like a starting point if someone was going like let's say I'm an artist, I'm going to use an art example. Someone wants to promote their art course, and a lot of artists are like on Instagram, and so what budget do you think they should start out with, I guess?
Another good question. Another similar answer. Like it depends, right? So whenever I'm starting out with something, there really is no set budget because if the ads work, like if you knew the ads worked, right? So if you knew that every time you spent $1 on ads, you would get $2 back, $3 back, what would your budget be?
I mean, it would be a high because I would know I would get my money's worth,
Exactly. So
right?
that's what a
So
lot
it
of
would be a
and
higher
that's how a lot of
amount.
small businesses think. They'll be like, "Well, if the ads work, I'll spend as much as you want." I'm like, dude, that of course you would. However, the ads probably don't work. So for me, I don't even really look at the budget that concretely. I'll look at it in terms of like a test budget. I would just say like I like to run this test. I'm gonna basically the way that I've seen success actually happen is like you need to optimize your way there. So I have all these different ideas and assumptions, and like idea number 13 will work. Test number 15 will finally work, right? And then I'll start to scale into whatever I need to scale into. So because I have that methodology, what I recommend to people would be to look at your industry, and depending on it's going to be, kind of be a little different depending on whether you're doing Google or you're doing Facebook or you're doing TikTok. Each of those platforms are more or less mature than the other ones, or they're more or less popular. And a lot of the prices depend on how competitive they are, right? So the prices are going to vary depending on which platform that you go to. But I would say like look at the sort of the average price per click for your industry, and then times that by like 100. And then that should kind of be what your test budget should be for each test project that you
For
do.
each platform.
So, because what you're
Oh,
doing
for
is
each
like
project. Got you.
testing is when people. So a lot of people in my sort of side of the table like to trick people and say like, they're like, hey, what's happening? I thought, how are results coming? Like, oh, we just need some more time to test, or we're still testing. And a lot of unsavvy people don't know what that means. But if you've ever been in like chemistry class or like some sort of science class when you were younger, you'll notice like, oh, like we have to make a hypothesis and we're gonna run this and see what happens. So the part that people miss on that is like there's a concept called statistical significance. And that concept basically says how much data do we need to collect in order to make a decision? Does A work better than B? Right? So naturally, and this is not a perfect science, but if you don't have a small budget, it's a good sort of measuring stick. Once you get 100 clicks, however many sales you've gotten at that point will sort of determine what your conversion rate is. So for me, if I'm working with a really small budget, I'll try to run a test to 100 clicks. So that means if each click costs $3, I need $300. After I spend $300, I'll look at the results and say, okay, did we convert or did we not convert? If we didn't convert, then maybe we'll pull it. And then you can kind of determine results based on, what you're selling. If you're selling a $300 product and you got one sale, now you broke even. You're like, okay, so you can make some adjustments here and then you're off to the races. But you can kind of see how that sort of logic would sort of guide my thinking. Then once you have some traction, or once you have like a 1 year test, maybe test 12 worked for you, now you can sort of reverse engineer a budget and be like, okay, test 12 is converting at at 3%. So every 100 clicks, 3 people buy. So if every click costs $3 and I want to make this amount of money, here's the budget that I'm going to need. And that's how you can kind of reverse engineer a budget once you find the level of success that you're looking for.
That makes sense. Now, hey, Justice, now you kind of hit on this a little bit, but how do you figure out which platforms you should hit first and second, like that priority order?
Yeah, I was just saying that it really depends on the product that you're selling or the industry that you're in and how aware people are of that product. If you just happen to be selling a product or service that there's already a lot of search traffic for, people are already looking for that sort of solution, then I'd recommend starting off on Google or one of the search channels. But if you're selling a product that's relatively niche, not that many people know about it yet, it's kind of new, it's hard to really talk about it. You got to kind of explain it a little bit. Then I would go to one of those like a social channel. Then a third way to look at it is if you're in an industry where you actually have competitors, you can just look and see, okay, where are my competitors getting a lot of their results from? I see a lot of them are on Facebook, and then kind of just mirror what they're doing because they've probably already went through the process that I explained.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I wanted to know, so do you think that, because I know Mom has you as an ads manager, but maybe for someone who may not be able to afford it or they don't want it, they just want to do everything themselves right now for whatever reason, is it possible to effectively run your own ads, or is it like what you just described previously, a more simplified version of what it really is?
Yeah, it is possible to run your own ads. I would say that I'd prefer you prefer to have someone like me running your ads because there is a lot of education that can go overlooked if you're not running it. Here's an example I'll give you. And I hate to keep going back to the sports stuff when Adria called it out.
Yeah, let's do it.
But it's kind of easy. Like, imagine this, right? Imagine that you win some sort of competition, and now you're at the Hawks game, right? And you get a chance to shoot a free throw for $100,000 if you make the free throw, right? Or you can have Trey Young or LeBron James shoot the free throw for you, and you get $40,000. Right? What would you do?
Yeah, I would choose a professional,
Why?
Right, every time.
Ask yourself why, though, right?
Because I'm not gonna make it.
Well, they are gonna make it.
Oh yeah, they're gonna make it.
Well, the probability of them making it is higher.
It's higher.
I probably would pick Trey Young or LeBron James because he has a higher free throw percentage, right? But what is your free throw percentage? You can run your own ads,
Don't even know.
but what is your free throw
Right.
percentage? My free throw percentage on running ads is high, like really high. I'm like Michael Jordan. He's like shooting with his eyes closed, it's going in.
Oh my.
But the average
Here we
person,
go. So humble.
the average person, I'm like, you can run your ads, or maybe you got lucky. Like, you can run ads until stuff doesn't work, or you can run ads until. So that's my professional opinion. Like, there's a reason why I'm picking Trae Young, right? I'm not shooting it. If I shoot it myself, I get all the reward, but I'm also taking on all the risk and liability and possible. But another thing too is, like, I'll say this just because that can sound kind of flippant. A lot of guys like me, there's a lot more tools now where you can actually just consult with a person like me, instead of actually, like, if you can't afford to work with an agency, or like hire like a dedicated freelancer who's not just a virtual assistant who's taking strategy from yourself. But you can actually like consult with a person like me for maybe like a couple $100 or so, and have them sort of tell you what to do. So now they're the media planner, and now you're the executor if you want to do that. Or maybe you could hire someone to execute on their plan that they gave you. So there is new ways to kind of go about it that lowers the barrier to entry to working with a professional.
All right, Justice. So say that I'm a business owner and I have a little bit of money, so I'm ready to go find me a marketer. What things should I look for, and what things should I look for that are like the red flags, like run the other way?
So you're a small business owner?
I'm a small business owner. I have a little bit of money. Like, I've been trying to run ads myself. It's not working. So I want to go hire somebody. So what are the things I should look for to find a good marketer? And then most importantly, which things that if I see, I should just be like, this is not the guy.
Number one, I look for like track record, right? So the same things you would look for if you're going to hire a person. I want to see some experience. I'd like to see that you've sort of worked in this industry before. One thing that I liked from one of my, I don't want to say a mentor, but so another marketer that I used to really, really listen to, was that he was like, hey, never hire somebody based on like their history. So like if someone came from Facebook to like, hey man, I used to work at Facebook, so therefore like I know what I'm doing. So don't hire people like that,
Right.
because the success that they got may have been very circumstantial, right? And now they're taking credit for it. In a sense, that's like me saying like, "Hey man, you should let me shoot the free throw because I was on the '97 Bulls with Michael Jordan." And you were like,
Right.
"Well, what player were you again?" And he was like, "Well, I was on the team. Like, did you start? Like, how did you actually contribute? Because Michael Jordan was going to win that ring regardless." And that's the type of thinking I'm. That's my point. But what he was actually trying to say was like, quiz that person on how they think more so than what their sort of history is, because they may have gotten lucky. You were at Apple on the marketing team when Steve Jobs was there. You guys weren't going to miss.
Right.
You were on the Chiefs when Patrick Mahomes was during his heyday. You guys were always going to be in the mix, whether you were there or not. Like, I need to know how do you think now? Like, what is your thought process now? And so that's the type of stuff that I'm kind of quiz him on. I'm like, hey, here, let me give you a scenario. How would you address this problem? And how he thinks is going to let me know, okay, this guy's a savvy person or he's not a savvy person.
But let me ask you this, because I do. But I say that I'm the average business owner, because I am the average business owner, and I know very little about marketing. So I don't even know which questions to even ask. So what sort of questions do I even ask? Because I may say, okay, how would you solve this problem? But I don't know enough to know if he's BSing me, if this is a good answer or not.
Yeah, well, so number one, I would so you guys already asked me some of the questions. The questions you guys already asked me are some of the questions that I would ask too. Another thing I would do too before I even jump on the call was make sure that this guy had looked at my website, or at some level I briefed him before. I gave him some sort of context, like here's kind of what we're going. And now that he has, because I don't want him being like, oh, well, I need some time to review some certain thing. I'm like, no, I give you some time. The fact that you didn't actually do any homework before you got on this call also answers a lot.
That's a red flag.
Yeah. So you see what I'm saying? So yeah, there's some there's some good questions out there you can that you can kind of sort through. But another thing I would do too is you're not just interviewing one person. So I'm comparing you to other people. Like, I'm hiring a person, right? So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
here's like if I'm going to hire a person, depending on what I need them to do, certain positions, I almost really don't care how good you are at the job. I almost care. I care how smart you are. Like if you have this
Mm-hmm.
specific position, I'd rather just hire a smart person in general and understand that
Mm-hmm.
he's going to be smart enough to figure it out
To figure it out.
versus a
Yep.
guy who's like, oh yeah, I worked in this industry for a long time, and I really don't know like
Yeah.
how involved were you in strategy? Like, have you ever had a leadership
Mm-hmm.
position before?
Mm-hmm.
Da, 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 da. But if I'm talking to a guy and he's giving me answers like, well, here's my plan A, here's my plan B, here's my plan C, and if that didn't work, here's
Mm-hmm.
what I would do, and I'll make sure. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
this guy sounds very prepared and like he's thought through,
Mm-hmm.
all these different scenarios, and he has like he's like
Right.
playing chess almost with the, you know, what his roadmap. A guy like that, I'm like, okay, at least I can have faith that he doesn't just he's not a one trick pony, and he's just saying like,
Mm-hmm.
because if you were to ask Shaq in the '90s, hey, how can we win this game? He would say, oh, just throw the ball in low and throw the ball into the post, get out the way. I'm gonna dunk the ball. But now, if you ask Steph Curry, like, hey, what's the best way to win the game? He's like, oh, spacing, shooting 3-pointers.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's analytically,
Mm-hmm.
that's the best way to win the game. And they're
Mm-hmm.
both different theories and strategies that both make sense at any given point in time, depending on how your team is constructed.
Mm-hmm.
I need a guy who understands, like, not only, like, okay, these are different options, but what makes sense for us right now. Like, in this,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I need a smart person, not just a person who sort of can do the job, but I need a person who can think through different scenarios as things change.
Think through it.
Yeah, exactly. A
Yeah.
problem, a high level. Most small business owners need a high level problem solver type of person.
Yep.
So I would say
100% agree.
interview at least 3 to 5 different people. And one of the
Mm-hmm.
things you're grading on is like vibe and feel,
Mm-hmm.
and also thought process.
Mm-hmm.
How does this person think through
Mm-hmm.
problems? Is this person just purely analytical? Is this person just purely creative? And I kind
Mm-hmm.
of want a person who's a little bit more balanced. I think small business owners, they tend to ask for rock stars, which are rare. Like this person who can just jack of all trades, magical person who just does everything. That doesn't necessarily. There's a couple people like that. There's very very few.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I would say like, hey, at least. But those people may be available to consult with though. But if you're going to hire a
Mm-hmm.
person, at least hire a person who's able to sort
Who
of
can think through the
creatively
problems.
think through problem
Yeah.
solving. Yeah, exactly.
And then, so say that, and I think the answer is probably the same, right? And so say that I hire this person, they're on the account. I'm super scared because I have this little bitty budget. I'm watching it. And I know that, ads are not going to perform well out the gate a lot of times. How much time should I get it? Should I give it in that testing phase, or when should I get nervous?
The average agency probably needs about 3 months. That's always been a
Mm-hmm.
standard for most companies. Like, hey, in about 90 days or so, that's when we can kind of dial it in.
Mm-hmm.
Because number one, they have their methods that they've seen success with, and they're going to try to employ those in about the first month, right? While that's happening, ideally they should be learning your industry because there's going to be some nuances to it that they just don't know. And then if those
Mm-hmm.
two things don't work, they may need to innovate in ways that they've never had to before, right? Or there may be some
Mm-hmm.
challenges that come up. So it really depends. Like it depends on why they can't get the results. If I'll say this, there's level one company problems and there's like level two company problems. Level one company is trying to figure out how to get ROAS, how to get a good CPA goal, right? They're trying to find a way to how do I sell my or like in this case advertise my product or service profitably. A level two company has
Mm-hmm.
already figured that out. They're like, we're already kind of hitting our goal. How do we scale? So
Mm-hmm.
most agencies, they're built, or even marketing professionals, they're very good at implementing a structure, like a campaign structure that allows the account to scale. That is, I'm not going to say that's easy, but that's the easier of the two tasks. The other task
Mm-hmm.
is
Mm-hmm.
if we're not hitting our ROAS goal or our CPA goal, we may actually have to change the offer. We may actually have to tweak some more back end things in order to,
Yeah.
hit our goal. And most people in my position have never had to think through that before, or are not even capable of
Mm-hmm.
thinking in that sort of way. So depending on
Yeah.
what the actual issue is, I may give them more or less time. If it's just a structure issue, a level 2 issue, uh, I probably would be like in about like a month, 45 days, I can kind of tell whether the dog hunts or not, especially by the way you're
Mm-hmm.
talking about the situation. Because that situation is very math oriented. You can tell whether or not the CPCs are coming down week over week or the conversion rate's going up, etc. But if this person's trying to figure out, okay, how do we hit a ROAS goal? How do we like inventing a solution for you? That is just naturally going to take a lot
Mm-hmm.
more time because now I have to not only have to come up with a new idea, but also have to test my idea, and there's just a lot more involved
Mm-hmm.
in that. So
Yep, that makes
naturally, I'm
sense.
giving it 90 days, but I'm also giving it looking at it from a very in a certain context. Is it this guy is just an idiot and he can't figure it out? Or is he like actually thinking creatively, ran some tests, we made some progress, and each
Mm-hmm.
test he's running, I see him getting better, he's getting closer, we're making some progress. And eventually, if I keep letting him go, we're probably going to hit it. Then, of course,
Mm-hmm.
I'll give him more time. But it's just like, he just keeps saying the same thing. I feel like the energy's dying. I feel like he's like avoiding me now. I feel
Yeah.
like he's just dodging
Right.
calls. And then, I probably at that point I'd be like, hey, man, like, let's like move on.
I like it's kind of, well, it's not random, but I like how what you are saying are just like traits that you would kind of look for in any job position that you're
Mm-hmm.
looking for, like someone who's ambitious, a problem solver, like all of these things.
Mm-hmm.
They're I don't know, I just thought that was really cool.
And the vibe does matter a lot.
Yeah, that matters
Mm-hmm.
too because that shows how you guys are going to communicate. Because
Yep.
someone can be super smart and able to do all of these things, but if they and the client can't meet eye to eye, then
Yeah, it means nothing.
nothing's getting done.
Yeah.
So that's also a thing.
Especially for a small business, like I feel like it matters a lot more who you hire like early on or who you're working more closely with because they are so close to you. They're almost like a business partner in a sense. So
Mm-hmm.
that you're going to need the relationship's going to matter a lot more in that sort of instance versus if you're at a bigger company. There's so many fields of separation that it doesn't like you think McDonald's cares who they hire? No, because the system already micromanages the performance. That I just need you to push the button. I just need you to like take orders, right? Make sure nobody breaks in.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't really need you to intelligently think through like how do we get through like our parking lot issue or you know what I mean. So as a company is smaller, like who you hire actually does matter more, and you should
Mm-hmm.
probably you can save yourself from a lot of problems just by hiring the right person early on as you're small. But
Yes.
as you grow, it doesn't
Mhm.
really matter as much because you should have implemented a process or system that maintains the performance to such a degree that it's like, okay, I don't need Justice here or I don't need Avery here anymore because the system is already managing the performance for me.
I think to kind of piggyback off of what you're saying is I think with from seeing you at your little baby business stage, I think being a small business when you're doing literally everything yourself, whether it's like posting on social media, creating packaging, putting up your listings, answering emails, like you're doing everything yourself and maybe even try running ads yourself. And then you decide to bite the bullet and almost like put your trust completely, and it's financial. It isn't just like, it's a lot of money a lot of the times, which is relative to how, it's relative. There's a lot of money
Mm-hmm.
regardless. I think, like you're saying, that the ads person that's being put in is like they have to be sensitive to that small business emotions and how they're feeling. And it's not like they have to be like a therapist, but maybe a little empathetic of like, okay, this person wants me to care about my business's values. Maybe I should act like I care, like different things like that compared to like if you are an ads manager for Spotify, it's going to be completely different. Just like, all right, you're on board. Let's just do your job. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Yeah, like that's a great way to put it. Like if you're a small business, I think I have like a chart somewhere about this. Like you shouldn't really be working with an agency in a sense because of that exact reason. Like number one, if you're a small business, an agency wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
respect you. Like your budget's so small or
Yeah.
whatever. Like they're just gonna like you're just another cog in the machine for them. Whereas if you're working with a person who's like a freelancer or like a marketing professional, like one to one, they are incentivized to care, right? Like they can't just be like, oh, this is my whatever client. Like I'm not gonna. But I've always cared. I think when the people who sort of trained me, they always cared, but I don't think anyone ever cared more than me. I used to get in trouble for caring too much for clients that, people thought like you're going out of your way or like we don't have to do this for them. So for me, I look at it a little bit differently, but I don't know. I think when I was younger, going back, I should have started with this story. I remember I was in grade school, and it's funny how like you if you can like really analyze your childhood, you can kind of really start to understand, okay, why am I like this? Like, where did this fear come from, or why do I like pizza or whatever? But I remember like I'm the only black kid in the school at in like first grade, like grade school, right? The only black kids, just a lot of Hispanics, and I remember I was like a very quick learner. I'm not saying I'm a smart guy, but I knew that I like learned fast. And so I guess I made it look, whatever we were doing just made it look really easy. And when you're standing out in school, like you're just going to get bullied. Like you stand it up positively, stand it out negatively, like you're just get bullied. So I learned very early on, like, oh, if I fit in, then I don't draw attention to myself and I don't get bullied anymore. Right. So like I would purposely like not try that hard and like get a C or get it. Like think about that. I knew how to get a B. Like my dad's not gonna be too upset, but then I'll still good enough. Like it was so bad to the point where like they were like, "Hey, do you want you want this president's award? Do you want to go to this special school?" And my dad's like, "Okay, cool. This is my son. See, I told you." And I was like, "Nah, I can't be going to no president's school. I need to like lay low." And so I kind of kept that. So I just grew up not trying hard, like just half-assing it at everything. And then you get to high school, and all of a sudden, people value people who are academically gifted, right? And so like people will be like, "Hey, bro, I need to make tonight's game, bro. Like, could you help me out?" Da 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 da. I'm like, yeah. And the guy gets an A on his test, and he's like, hey, see, it's my dog right here. Hey, it's my guy right here. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like now I'm hanging out in the back, getting worse grades because I'm joking around with these kids. And it's like, so then some other girls show up, like, hey, can you help me? Like, I don't get it. Can you help? I'm like, yeah, I mean, I can help. So like now I'm helping her out. She's like, oh my god, like you're so good. Like this is cool. So now I'm getting validated for being smart for the first time in my life, and like in high school. That I think now, like I still carry a lot of that over. So clients like, business is failing. Could you help? Like these guys are shit at this agency. Look what they did to me. And then like I'll get a referral and just be like, talk to Justice. He's good at ads. He's like, Eric said to talk to you. Like, I don't know, man. Have you ever done like lipstick holders before? I'm like, I mean, not really, but like, I've been looking at your business, right? And like, I'll talk to them. They'll be like, all right. And then like 2 months later, we love this guy. Hey, like, so yeah, I feel like that sort of vibe from when I was younger has definitely carried over now. And even to add on to that, in college, I was actually an English tutor. So now I'm like learning how to communicate to people who are not. I'm communicating this very like overly fluffy, savvily worded concepts to people who really don't care about English, right? And I feel like I do that now. Like people don't really care about marketing. I have to talk to them like, hey, do you actually care about this? It's like, nah, I just kind of want to know what's happening on a very general, high level basis. Like, oh, okay, cool. Well, here's what's going on. Why come the other guy couldn't say that? Like, well, because he only speaks nerd. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, well, fair enough. But if you want me to go into the weeds, we can. But a lot of those things, it does make sense that if you think about it, I am the way that I am when I have all these experiences that I had when I was younger.
So what, could you mention that you had multiple associate degrees? So what was up with you bopping around everywhere trying to like, was it just like you had like the love of learning so many things and kind of like trying them all out? Or was it just like you didn't know where you wanted to go?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. So like I said before, I didn't know what path I wanted to go down. I could have really gotten an engineering degree pretty quickly if I really wanted to, but I didn't really want to just take on a bunch of debt for something I didn't really feel like it was my path to go and do.
Hmm.
So I really wanted to make sure whatever I went down, I really liked. So again, I tested out a lot of stuff, right? So I'm testing out
Mhm.
this, I'm testing out that, I'm testing out this
Hmm.
other thing, interviewing people, going to the different clubs, taking the classes, seeing what the lifestyle was like, and seeing like, did I actually really want to do this? So after a while, it's just like, dude, like you qualify for this degree, you qualify for that degree, you qualify for this degree. But I'll say this: I talked to my little sisters. I have like six little sisters, and
Oh, wow. That's a lot of little sisters.
yeah,
Sorry. Okay, go ahead.
yeah. So it's funny. I don't think we ever talked about them. Well, I talked to Adria about them a little bit, I guess, but
Hmm.
yeah,
I think you bought some products one time.
yeah. So their names are also really interesting. Like the oldest one's named Bright, Hope, Lovely,
Mhm.
Treasure, Choice. Right. So we're all
Oh, that's
Oh,
so sweet.
and your justice. That's so
Oh, it all
sweet.
makes sense.
yeah. So I have a brother named Courage too. Right. So yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
that's good.
So Nigerians
yeah, that's
are
good stuff.
Yeah.
we have interesting names. But so Bright is in college now. So she goes to San Diego State or no, San Diego University. And
Hmm.
I remember I was like, coaching her up because my dad is Nigerian. So he kind of just assumes that we know better and everything. Like any topics, like they already know what we should be doing. And so I was like, hey, let me like talk to you about this because I don't want you making a bunch of mistakes in college. And so she's gonna go in her first year. A lot of freshmen end up like failing like a lot of the classes the first year. They're never really prepared for college lifestyle, whatever. So I told her, I was like, hey, instead of just bouncing around from major to major, the average person bounces from like at least three different majors before they figure out what they want to do. So it's time, it's money. I was like, hey, think about it like this: if you could have any superpower in the next 10 years, what superpower would you want to have? So after working in the field for about 10 years, you literally become like an expert in that field, like a master of your craft. You kind of do develop this sort of superpower compared to the average person in whatever it is that you're doing. So then if you kind of pull away the different titles from these different, career paths and you just look at the skill set as a superpower, you can be like, okay, what would be interesting to me? Like, would you want to learn how to like enhance the body so well that you can make people run faster, make them stronger, make them healthier, and also understand like how to heal the diseases? And does that sound interesting to you? Or would you like to study how the brain works to such a degree where like you can cure depression, how to make people happy, what makes people happy, what makes people laugh? You can also kind of control or sort of understand psychology, what motivates them to buy something, or what makes them want to like choose red versus blue, or like how to, right? So like you start to break down these different fields by their skill set, and you're like, oh, I'm naturally attracted to building infrastructures and understanding like how to like how to build a building and scale up really skyscrapers or arenas, or I like designing clothes in a way that empowers people, makes them feel confident, or like I like to express myself through art and the music, or like understand how to like entertain people at a really high level. And once you understand what skill sets are the most interesting for you, the career path tends to sort of present itself in a sense.
The superpower analogy is a really
Yeah,
good
that's a good
analogy.
one.
I wish I had that one.
Same. That was a good one.
Yeah, that's really awesome.
Go ahead.
One more thing.
Go ahead.
Did you have another question?
Nope, you can go first.
Okay. Do you see yourself like I know the trajectory of how careers work now is kind of changing. People are kind of doing different things every 10 years and they feel like it. Do you see yourself being um an ads guy for until you retire, or are there any other things that you see yourself doing in the future?
Yeah, that's a good question. I feel like I'll always sort of be around ads at some level. But like I said before, I don't even call myself an ads guy. I call myself like a marketer in general. But as I look at the other marketers in my field and kind of like where they're at, I think that there are certain industries where the actual job itself, like the actual what you're doing, isn't actually entertaining for people. Like that's not why Gary Vee is famous. Like we all acknowledge that Gary Vee is a good businessman, but he's not famous because he does marketing. Most people would be like Gary Vee is like inspiring, like he's motivating. And so I feel like that would be the natural sort of trajectory for me as more so like becoming more of a face sort of person. I don't want to say influencer, but that's kind of essentially what it is. I don't want to say guru, but maybe marketing guru is probably the appropriate word. Is that sort of figure person, like Alex Hormozy type, Gary Vee sort of type, where it's like you're still doing marketing, but you're more so the entertainment side of what I'm doing is more so inspiration based or motivation based, which I actually do have a high affinity for. But I'm still having like a marketing agency and still very much involved with marketing activities. But a majority of my content is actually more so like you should fight for your business and don't give up and like that sort of thing. Um, so yeah, that's where I feel like it's going to eventually go to.
I want to switch gears. Way, switch gears. So, one of the questions that we ask on our questionnaire is about like your favorite quote. And your response was the most interesting one that I have ever seen. Can you talk a little bit about the poem that you mentioned?
Yeah, so back when I was an intern and I wasn't really like super vocal on the accounts. So a lot of times, like, so you're working with a bigger agency, you'll have your account lead and he's talking to you through your different results, and you'll have a bunch of other people on the call. Like, who's this other guy in the back? He's just like listening, and like basically that's what he's doing. He's listening, he's observing, and he's kind of learning not only what the client likes, but also how to like manage one of those sort of meetings. So I was in that role a while back, and I remember we were working with this company, like this children's education company. Talking to this guy, and I remember I think actually had some of the ideas that we were presenting, like some of the ideas I had actually come up with, and the results in the account weren't the greatest, and he was just like, we're presenting the ideas, and he seemed a little like dismissive of them, and our account lead was like, is there a problem? Is there anything like any issues you have with the ideas that we presented? Just let us know. And the guy was like, yeah, I mean, like, listen, I'm open to any ideas as long as they're good ideas. And like, I'm on the call, but like, I don't have my camera on. So we're like in the office, and we're like listening in the background. We're like, what's this guy talking about? What? That doesn't make any sense. And after that call, we're just all like, this guy's an idiot. Like, why would you say that? Like, of course what does that even mean? And then over the course of my career, I've learned what he was trying to say. I'm open to any ideas as long as they're good ideas. So the whole premise of that quote is defining what a good idea actually means, right? So I've learned that, at least the way that I define a good idea is an idea that's on brand, that's on goal, and it's backed by data. If I present someone one of those types of ideas, they will usually say yes to my idea. Whereas too many people present ideas and they're like, hey guys, what do you guys think we should do? And I'll be like, I think we should like do some TikTok dances. I saw those are going viral right now. Oh, you know what? We should do one of those like closing exchange things. Those are really funny. Or it's like, hey, we should do that. And it's like those ideas, number one, like not on brand. Like, dude, we are a, like realty company that caters to, demographic 55 and up. Why are we doing TikTok dances? Right? Like it doesn't, like it's not on brand, right? Not backed by data. Do you have any proof that this is working for us in a similar industry? Right? Then the goal, like, how is this going to help us on the goal? Like, TikTok is not even a platform we've ever seen results on. Like, why are we there? But if you check those boxes on those parameters and then you present your ideas, you filter out all the ideas according to those parameters, and then you present them, and this for me, because I'm good at coming up with ideas, those are the only ideas that I present. They're through this lens. And now everyone's like, see, where's this guy been? This guy has all the good ideas. And that's why, is because I only present the good ideas, not just some random idea.
What do you think, Sydney? It makes sense to me. What do you think, Sydney?
No,
I was looking at her face.
I was like, don't say what you think.
Say it.
No, okay. So I think that like makes so much sense, and it it applies very well in like in a technical, structured type of field, right?
Mm-hmm.
However, with art, when I thought about, because I always think about how whenever we have these kind of conversations, I always think of bring it all the way back to what I'm passionate about, even though this is not what this is about. And I'm like, with art, it's like completely the opposite sometimes, you know? The only consistent thing might be your style with your audience. Like, I might draw something, like right now I'm drawing octopus. Octopi? Multiple octopus, okay? And I normally draw a lot of maybe like fantasy people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's completely different. But my audience, they still get with it. And maybe that's just because it's my style and maybe I use a similar color palette. So maybe what you're saying is true, you know? But I just seen so much beautiful art and beautiful things come from just doing random things that come to mind, and that act of expression and trying something new. I think that shouldn't be something that, at least from the way I work, shouldn't be something that you stray from doing just because someone hasn't done it before, or it's not backed by anything because we haven't tried, or, you know, that's just my opinion though.
No, I do agree with you though, right?
Okay.
I do agree with you because it depends on what perspective you're looking at things from. I'm a very multifaceted perspective type of guy. Let me ask you a question, right? Do you think your answer would change if someone was looking to hire you as an artist?
It depends. There you go, your answer.
Because a lot,
It depends.
the definition I gave you was based on the fact that people are paying for a result. So I can't just give them whatever idea I feel like giving them, because I need them to want to say yes to the results. A lot of times, from the marketing standpoint, people say no to a lot of ideas, and you're like, why are you not greenlighting this idea? And the client they'll have all kinds of, opinions about the idea. And if you ever watch Mad Men, you'll see this happen in a more visceral way, where they'll talk down to the clients. Like, the clients they don't know. I tell them what the ideas are, right? But I've learned over time, hey, if I want them to accept my idea so that we can make more money and everyone wins, I need to present it in a certain way. And that's a framework I've learned to present the ideas. But when you're making art for yourself, there is those parameters don't apply. It doesn't, just whatever you feel. But let's just say you needed to make money and you're going about it the way that you're going about it. And you come to me and you're like, dude, I made these really cool octopi paintings, spent all day on these. Nobody's buying them. What's going on? One of my questions would be oh, where are you selling them? I'm selling to my audience, my following. They love me, but they're not buying these. Oh, have they bought from you in the past? Yeah, they usually buy all the time. What do you normally sell them? I normally sell them fuzzy teddy bear stuff. And now they're not buying the random octopus stuff. No. Maybe your audience only likes the fuzzy teddy bear stuff. You're like, really? Yeah, just try it. Just try one of those ones. You make one and it sells out in a minute. You're like, damn, this guy was right. Yeah, man, and maybe you're just trying to make money. Maybe just only sell the teddy bear ones and then do the octopus ones for yourself. Or maybe just ask your audience, do a poll before you start to invest a bunch of time and guessing what they want, instead of just saying hey, what are you guys into right now? Or what would you guys like me to make? And now, again, you're putting parameters on what you're doing to make sure you hit this very specific goal. But if you're just doing it for fun, for art, for expression, for your own sort of portfolio that doesn't have any parameters associated with it, just expressing your perspective at a given time, that is a different thing than sort of how I'm using that sort of thing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. What came to mind for me was kind of like where I've experienced exceptions for both, right? So, because what you said makes sense. So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And some examples in my artistic career, and I'll let this go, is that like I used to just draw like fantasy figures based on like zodiac signs and stuff, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I built a lot of my following on Instagram. Then I randomly decided, you know what? I want to draw a moth, you know? Next thing you know, even though it was completely random, out of whatever, people were buying it. Like people were like, "Oh my god, I love this piece. I want this piece." You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Which kind of got me into doing animals, which I wasn't doing before. You know what I mean? So then I did like a crane, then I did like a bear, then I did like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And people were kind of digging it. So I think like what you're saying, like I think the poll thing is really a cool idea actually, to actually just skip the guessing and ask, hey, do you like this? Would you purchase this? Because a lot of times people will be like, oh my God, I want a print of this when I'm working on something. But I do think, because even in, and maybe this is me being selfish, but even in commissions, someone will give me their parameters, but I'll still find a way to push myself as an artist to make the project interesting. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think it's like what you're saying has, so even though someone might see something that I haven't done before, like maybe the way I render it or the way that I like go about something, but the subject matter, the color palette, what they wanted is still there. So I think what you're saying is completely valid, but I do think it, the way I see it is just not as,
it's not as black and white.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you though. Like, I think again, we're coming from so many different fields. A lot of times too, like I remember someone told me this really interesting fact that it takes to make beef jerky. It takes 3 pounds of beef to make 1 pound of beef jerky, right? So like, and that philosophy or that concept is kind of how I create ads. So if I'm going to present, someone's like, hey man, can you make an ad for me? Da 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 da. I will probably have like 25 headlines. I have like, you know, a bunch of different creative examples or whatever. And I've whittled it down to whatever I'm going to present. Right. So a lot of times my actual perspective is pretty wild. And if I didn't have, and I honestly like, maybe I like my actual perspective better than when I'm actually watering down that I kind of figure out, because this is probably going to work best. But by going through the process in general, sometimes I'll still figure out, I'll like have like these happy accidents that sort of lead to me learning, oh, okay, cool, this actually does work. This is cool. This works too. I just, from my perspective in my field where I'm at right now, I'm a slave to what works. Like I have no opinions when it comes to getting results. I don't care if it's ugly. I don't care if it's not polished, cute, whatever. I'm like, whatever works, that's what we're doing. Right. And that's why people like me, because I'm good at getting the results. So I don't have any opinions that much, but when I am in the creative process, I'm like, we should do the super funny one that's out there. I'm kind of outrageous and that they're not going to like that much. It's not very PC. But so I still have it on the back burner, and some people are going to like that one, but you know, I may not always present it, but I do get value from still having it. Like for like the super fans, maybe I'll show it to them, but I may not actually present it because it's just irrelevant. So you're kind of going through a similar process, but just in a different way, where it's like you really don't have those boundaries. You're like, hey, I'm just gonna let it fly and just kind of just do this. Whereas I could do that, and sometimes I have, but it's just like, you know, sometimes the priority is not for me to freestyle. It's like you need to just do what we need you to do for right now.
It's probably one of my riskier traits to have, to be honest. That's probably the selfish part of me doing that, just being like, I want to do what I want. But
You
yeah.
guys remember when I was like, a lot of what I talk about is like not random. Like it sounds like I'm bullshitting a lot of this stuff, but like I'm not though. For example, one of the guys at my first agency, he was our sort of creative designer sort of guy. He had a what do you call this thing? Like an art gallery showing, like a gallery showing one day. It's like, hey man, doing a gallery downtown. You should come through Arts District. It's all good. Free drinks. I was like, all right, cool. Yeah, I'll come through. So I come through. It's like a small little room. He has all of his art on the wall, and he has some pretty interesting art. Like it was like wild. It was like just abstract nudes and just all kinds of stuff on the wall. And I remember I'm there, and, I'm just being myself. I'm chatting up people, saying what's up, drinking the drinks, and I start just bullshitting or just rambling about this one piece next to this guy that was near me. He's like, "Hey man, what do you think about this piece?" I'm like, "Oh, it's cool. Yeah, it's my buddy. My buddy actually did this. Oh, you know Noah? Yeah, I know Noah." I was like, "Oh yeah, cool. He was telling me about that. Came through." I'm like, "Yeah, me too." Like, I actually really like this one, dude, because like the way he did this one, like I feel like you can put it anywhere in the room. It really has like a very like visceral emotion. Like you can know exactly what that expression's like, and like, and then the tones are really good. I started talking about the piece. I get to work the next day. He's like, "Hey man, I appreciate you for coming through. You helped me sell that art piece." I was like, "What are you talking about?" I was like, that like rectangle one, the big one that was in the center. Yeah, yeah, yeah. But my buddy ended up buying that one. He said like you really sold him on it. I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, man, appreciate you coming through. That was the only painting I sold that night." I was like, "Damn, okay, Xbox, check that box, right?" And I literally sold a painting at an art gallery unsolicited, and I got no commission for it. But now I know that skill set's there. So I'm just saying, like, I didn't
See?
know his goal was to sell paintings, but the only guy who sold a painting was the marketer guy.
Yes. Hey, Justice, that actually it leads into the last question that I have. Said I'm not sure if you have any more,
Okay.
but I wanted to know an example. I'm sure you have some example of like some content or like a creative or whatever that you thought was really, really gonna hit and it totally flopped, and then vice versa, one that you thought was just kind of mediocre at best, but ended up being like absolutely like amazing in an ad.
I'll just use a very vague example from like the golf industry, right? In that industry, like when I first came to it, I was thinking like the bigger the claims that we could make, that would sort of be the thing that really captured people's attention. Hey, hit the ball like 500 yards, like never miss a shot, like all this different stuff. These big, grandiose statements are going to be the thing that was going to work. And what ended up working was like literally the complete opposite. Like more like, if you guys know like BuzzFeed, like those style of ads ended up working, where it's just like this this new club is replacing traditional golf wedges. Like that was like one of the better like headlines or whatever, and I was like,
Wow.
what? So that's another reason why like, I feel like a lot of guys in our industry are like too arrogant in a sense, where I'm like, dude, you just think that your idea is going
Hmm.
to work when you've never been in this industry before. Because I've been surprised a
Hmm.
lot of times. I remember one time I think the first time I've ever been really surprised by an ad was this company was like a market research company. So you guys know those quizzes that you would do, like if you take this quiz, you earn points. If you get enough points, you can get like a free thing, right?
Hmm.
So I remember I forget the first ad we. Oh, I remember actually. This is like the first client that I ever had, and I remember there's like a Spanish market research company, and they're trying to get more people to take the quizzes, right? So they can generate more leads,
Hmm.
and then what they would do is like they sell that list of leads to like Coca Cola and be like, hey, we surveyed these people. Here's what they say that they like about whatever, right? So they're selling people's
Hmm.
data to big corporations. But the lead magnet was that front end funnel, like, hey, take win prizes, taking quizzes. And I remember like one of the prizes was like an iPhone or like a PlayStation or something. So you would think like, oh, let's just put the PlayStation on here and that will be the best ad.
Right.
Or let's just get
Right.
a free iPhone. all I gotta do is take. All right, it sounds like a good deal. Just like when you go to the mall, it's like
Yep.
you see the car, like win a free car. Da, 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 da. It's like a brand new car in the
Right.
mall. That's kind of what the funnel was. What ended up working was basically I had an idea where I was like, it's a two-pronged idea. Number one, there's a concept called otaku, where it's like a Japanese word that basically just means people really care about certain things and don't care about other things.
Mm-hmm.
People really care about hot sauce.
Mm-hmm.
They don't care about mustard. It's like hot sauce will have all these clubs. There'll be T-shirts. There'll be TV shows.
Mm-hmm.
Right? There's literally a show on YouTube called Hot Ones. Right? And what about mustard?
Mm-hmm.
We just don't care. It just doesn't hit. Right? So I was like, cool. Let's take that concept and let me choose like one of the prizes that they have. Right? And then there's another concept where I don't know the exact concept, but basically like people love to debate Democrat, Republican, red versus blue, right? And so I the ad combined both concepts together. So I went and I picked, I forget exactly, but maybe I'll pick like Batman versus Superman or Xbox versus PlayStation, like Princess Jasmine versus Ariel. And I was like, what team are you on? Or like, which one, who is better? And it was like one of those, one of the, like those debate style ads, Batman better than Superman. And then those ads started getting so much engagement. And
Wow.
People would be like, what the heck? Like Starbucks is way better than Coffee Bean. I'm like, you would say that. Starbucks heads. It's like, you guys are so pretentious. You guys don't care about the actual coffeeness. And people would be having these debates during these ads. So I picked the topics that they cared about. Then I put this debate format on the ad. Now people are having debates. So the ads are getting crazy engagement. We're on Facebook. It's like 2018. We were doing mini chats. So we're doing like like these chat bot ads. And basically the premise was like, okay, like if you kind of go through the sequence, you already sort of did your first quiz, and therefore if you just sign up now, you can get your points. And that funnel went from like that was supposed to be like a throwaway account. Like, hey, just give Justin something to do. Like, we want him to get used to like managing clients. I went from 0 to 100, like, went from nothing to like spending $50,000 a month on ads, and like was one of the biggest accounts at the agency. They ended up flying me out to Spain to meet the clients. They didn't even speak English. They barely spoke English. And it was wild. It was like, and that was one of my first claim to fame sort of moments. After that, everyone was like, yeah, put him on everything. Put him on all the big accounts and all that type of stuff. But that concept was, it still works. I talked to my intern eventually took over that account, and those ads that we had back in 2018 are still kind of working.
All right, Sydney, why don't you ask Justice the question from our last podcast guest?
Okay.
And why don't you give him the background?
Okay. So in every interview, we basically ask the interviewee, a question, and then we also ask you to ask the next person who you won't know who'll be on here a question as well, and you just pay it forward, pretty much. So our last person, they asked, what is your favorite book and what is your favorite genre?
I'll say the first book that comes to my mind, I do like a lot of books. First book that comes to my mind that I tend to quote and go back to no matter who I'm talking to is a fiction book. It's a biography by a guy named Stephen Pressfield called Virtues of War. It's a biography of Alexander the Great. And just think about that. Like, the guy wrote a biography. So he's writing from Alexander's perspective, even though he's not Alexander. So it's kind of it's an interesting book. So you're hearing Alexander's thoughts and how he's kind of processing different things as he's kind of going through his life. And there's just certain situations that book always sort of comes back to. One of the concepts I thought was kind of cool was Alexander the Great conquers like Babylon at the time, and they're doing like a parade to like show him off to like the citizens and whatnot. And there's like one monk figure I forgot, everyone's supposed to stand up and bow or something. The monk is like just sitting on the floor. He's like not standing up and bowing to as Alexander's like cart comes through. and they stop like the whole parade, and they go up to the one of the generals gets down and goes up to the monk. He's like, "Don't you know who this is? This is the guy who conquered most of the known world. He's your new leader. Who are you not to get up and bow to him?" And the monk doesn't even really acknowledge the guy. He's just like, "I'm the guy who conquered the need to have to conquer most of the known world." And so then Alexander overhears him. He's like, "Wait, hold up. I must meet this man. I have to talk to him." Because he was like so impressed with like the answer. And they ended up giving that guy like some land
Wow.
or something. And like he was like celebrated for a little bit during the
Wow.
city. But just that sort of thought process to me was like, that's interesting. Like as a young guy, you're like,
Mhm.
you know, I gotta like win all the championships. I gotta like, you know, become president and all this
Right.
different stuff. And the older guy was just like, I conquered that desire, that sort of like hubris in a sense.
Yep. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's a good quote right there.
Oh,
Mhm.
in your favorite genre?
Oh
of
yeah,
book?
yeah.
Oh, well, I guess it would have to be that fiction. I guess I don't really
Mhm.
know the way to phrase it, but I guess it would be fiction.
Yeah, that sounds kind of like historical fiction.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Um,
historical fiction.
All right, Justice. And for our next podcast guest, what question do you want us to ask them?
Now, do I get any context of who they're going to be?
No, I don't even know if we know who it's going to be. Do we know?
No, we
I don't think we know. That is the beauty of it.
I guess like maybe like who's the most influential person in your life and why?
Cool. Anything else, Sydney?
No, my question. I always come with my own questions in my head.
Good. And she's a Libra. This is what they do.
Yes. My question would have been like, if you have 24 hours to live,
What would you do?
what would you do?
That's a good question too. Yeah, that was going to vary a lot. But yeah, I was going to say like, did you over the course of this hour and a half, did you know what sort of zodiac sign I am?
If we had a guess, what would we guess? What would we guess? What would we guess? I should have sent you a birthday gift by now, Justice. I've never sent you a birthday gift. That's why I should know.
Okay, so I had a couple of. I feel like I'm wrong. I feel like I'm wrong.
I don't.
So at first you were giving Aquarius.
I can see that.
You were really giving Aquarius.
But why?
vibes.
But why? Tell the people why. Why Aquarius?
Why? Because Aquarius, Aquarii.
Aquarii.
Gosh, these multiple. Okay, Aquarii. Aquarians. They're called Aquarians. Okay, so Aquarians tend to be very they're very smart. They know a lot of things, but they're very go with the flow, but they want everyone to kind of go with their flow. Like they know what the flow is, and you kind of should be riding their wave. They can kind of. Sometimes the ones I come across, I love all of you guys, by the way, if you're watching. But some of the ones I've come across have been kind of, arrogant in a good way, not in a hurtful way, just in a way of like they believe in themselves and they know that they're right. They're very confident. So I think with your confident vibes and with you knowing a lot of things, but with you also being able to kind of flow a little bit, shift, it just kind of seemed like you had Aquarius vibes.
I could see Aquarius.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
What's the answer? What is the answer?
Yeah,
what is your sign?
Wait, I have to know before
Yeah, we need to know now.
No, I'm Gemini.
Oh.
Gemini.
What?
Really? I would not have picked that up at all.
Gemini.
That's the confessional camera.
But Sydney, see, I'm ashamed. That's my sun sign though, right? Like, what about the moon sign? What about the rising? Don't just judge me by that.
What is your moon sign?
That's true. Do you? Okay.
What is your moon?
What are your top 3?
I actually don't know what the rising is. But moon is Pisces.
Oh. You know what? That means I'm low-key still right. Because even though because you know how Aquarius is the water bearer, right? So they're like an air sign that bears water. You're still an air sign that has that water placement in there. I don't know. I'm not right. I just wanted to boost my ego a little.
I wouldn't have chosen
not Gemini. You weren't giving Gemini vibes. What are your top 3, Mom?
Virgo, and Libra is my moon.
Oh, interesting. Virgos. I need to brush up on what each one means. But I feel like Geminis get, we get misjudged all the time. And I feel like I just, instead of being like two-faced or whatever, I'm more so a person who can just
Mm-hmm.
fit into any sort of group of people. And so it looks
Mm-hmm.
like, it's like, dude, how
Mm-hmm.
are you like hanging out with the skater kids, and you're also hanging out with the Hooper
Mm-hmm.
kids, and you're on like
Mm-hmm.
young government, and you're like, right, like it doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that sort of adaptability gets misplaced a lot.
I've known a lot of Geminis, and they tend to always be the same, and you are not giving Gemini.
But again, Pisces moon.
Kanye is a classic Gemini.
Oh, Kanye's been through some stuff. Don't do him like that.
Kanye's a classic
he's just a
Gemini.
special case in himself. But
Creative.
I don't know. As
He is
Strong
creative.
He's really
creatives.
creative.
Strong
Creative.
creatives. Geminis tend to be strong creatives, like strong
Yeah, but
artists.
he flips though. You like never know which Kanye you're gonna be talking to.
yeah. My top three, I'm a Libra. Right, like yeah, Libra, Gemini rising,
But that
and,
Virgo moon though.
and I have a Virgo moon. So I have a lot of empathy for Gemini because your rising is like what you kind of come off as at
Mhm.
first. And then but my Virgo moon it keeps me, I think, in
Yeah.
order a little bit.
Virgo's holding her down.
It is. And Libras are cool. I think we're awesome.
Yes, it's my Libra moon that keeps me from being an asshole for sure. For sure. Because I'll come back and I'll be like, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. And
You do that.
Yeah, that's my
You
Libra.
do. And you have a lot of
You
empathy
do
for
that,
people.
yeah.
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 I come back all the time and do that. Like I would stay up at night thinking, like happened the same thing. It happened this morning. I woke up this morning. I thought I had hurt somebody's feelings. I had to talk with him first thing in the morning. I took a break from the gym when they called me at the gym, and let's just go get it all cleared up.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
I wonder, and I'm sorry, I know we've been talking for quite a while.
Cool. Justice loves to talk.
But I wonder because I have the tendency to do something very similar, right?
Mhm.
But there have been times where I've done it and they're like, I don't even remember that
That
happened.
happens every time.
Yeah.
Every time they don't know what I'm apologizing for. Every single time. Like I just get all of my feelings. Like, I can work up the scenarios
Mhm.
that I bet they felt like this when I said this. And like 9 times out of 10, like I don't think the person who I talked to this morning, because I was just kind of not even, I just wanted to see how she was feeling. And she clearly had like everything was cool.
Yeah.
So I had worked myself up for absolutely nothing.
That
It happens all the time.
At least I know that you care, though.
Yeah,
You
for
know,
sure.
so
For sure.
I guess that's a win.
Yeah, it's a good thing
Yeah.
because Virgos can go hard, real hard.
Yeah, I mean, but I think Virgos are nice. The Virgos I've met have been really nice,
Yeah.
very blunt and open about how they feel
Yeah.
about things.
Yeah.
So
All good. Well, thank you, Justice, so much. It was a really, really great conversation. I felt like, although I've known you for 3 years, I learned a lot about you. So it was a really great conversation.
Yeah. Likewise, I appreciate you guys for having me on, Sydney. It was nice to finally meet you. I feel like we always talk about you
you too.
as if you're not in the room. So it's nice to kind of put the face with the person who does all the art stuff behind the scenes.
And then my favorite Justice parting words. Enjoy the rest of your day.
He has actually the rest of his day.
That's what he tells me at the end of every conversation. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Dude, I say that a lot. That's funny.
Yes, you do. You do that every single time. Enjoy the rest of your day.
That's nice. At least, do you enjoy it, Mom?
And I
Do you
do.
do that?
And I do.
That's good. That's what matters.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Justice.
All right. I'll see you guys soon.
Talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to Leaf Notes. If you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and drop a like and a comment letting us know what your takeaway was. And if you're just listening, head over to social media after taking a screenshot and tag us letting us know what your takeaway was. If you want to give us a rating, head over to your favorite podcast app and give us a 5-star rating or let us know what you think. This will help us connect with more business owners and creatives just like you. And with that being said, we hope that your business takes root and grows, and we'll see you next time.